Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs. Great to have you with us here on Golf Channel. You can also listen if you're leaving your home. That is PGA Tour Radio Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I am Gary Williams. Final day for me from Colorado Springs. I'm out here for what is the beginning of season 4 of the Underrated Tour. This great initiative started by Steph Curry. We're playing at the Eisenhower Golf Course on the campus of the Air Force Academy. It's been delightful. Final day of that event. Final day for us. We'll be back in the studio on Monday. And of course, this program is always brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you, the things that they do, their business relationships in insurance, not to mention what they do in the game of golf with the United States Golf Association and the First Tee. Of course, Golf Pride, our 3 North Carolina-based companies. Golf Pride, the leading golf grip company in the world, trusted by more players at every level than anybody. Peter Millar, when it comes to performance and refining performance, luxury, and style, nobody does it better. This Pine Performance hoodie. Pinehurst Resort, they are the cradle of American golf. And going on right now, one of the great amateur championships in golf, the North-South. I know that is going on right now. They're in medal play. They'll get to match play. Some great players historically. When you look at who has won the North-South, there's nothing like the roll call of champions of that wonderful event. Again, there's always a good reason, good time to be making a trip, booking a trip to Pinehurst. You know, amateur golf is somewhat on my mind today because someone who's going to be joining me is the captain of what I believe is the best event in amateur golf. And look, all these amateur individual championships are fantastic, and they're amazing achievements, whether it is winning the Northeast Amateur or the Western Am or the North-South, or of course the United States Amateur Championship, and to win my favorite trophy in the game, the Havemeyer Trophy. But the Walker Cup, which is going to be contested at the beginning of September, you could argue that the Walker Cup and the Curtis Cup are the 2 best rotas in golf when it comes to where these competitions are being held. The Walker Cup this year will be at Cypress Point. The captain of the team, Nathan Smith, one of the most decorated amateurs that we've seen, not only in the last 50 years, really of all time, a 5-time USGA champion, is going to be joining me today. Also on the program, a guy who played on a Walker Cup team in 1983. He is part of NBC's golf coverage, and he is out in the state of Colorado. He's probably, I don't know in what direction, I think that direction, about 12 miles down the road to the Broadmoor for the U.S. Senior Open. Brad Faxon will be with me in less than 15 minutes. Local time here in the state of Colorado. So we're looking forward to talking to Brad about not only that championship, but also as somebody who works with Rory McIlroy, his thoughts on did Rory get the reboot after the Travelers, and also Keegan Bradley, his thoughts on Captain Keegan and the plausibility of him being a playing captain. But I want to start with somebody who won a U.S. Amateur, who is now a professional. And maybe James Piot is just my jumping off point, but I think that James Piot is a nice story this week because he's the first guy who played on LIV who has been given a sponsor exemption back on the PGA Tour. And I think it's a very nice decision, a good decision by the Rocket Mortgage, considering the fact that James Piot was the first U.S. Amateur champion from the state of Michigan. He won the event a couple of years ago, and then he made the decision to take, I don't know how much money, but more money up front than he was going to get from sponsorship to play on the PGA Tour, play professionally in America, to travel the world and be on LIV. And so he made the choice to go over there. He's no longer with LIV. The last time he played there was a couple of years ago. So now he's in a position to come back and play to some degree on the PGA Tour, maybe the Korn Ferry Tour. But because James Piot primarily is a guy who is a product of the state of Michigan. He grew up, he went to Detroit Central Catholic High School. He went to Michigan State. And as I mentioned, he was the first U.S. Amateur champion from the state of Michigan. So here's this event in Michigan, and they've given him a sponsor exemption. So the pathway back for players to the PGA Tour, this is it right here. And now I'm not saying this is the only way because it's not. And this gets to a larger point about as we look ahead to pathways for players. Because from what I understand, you go back to the month of March, it was not impossible that there were going to be a couple of LIV players who might have played on the PGA Tour this year. But things kind of, fell apart. You could say that's a reasonable way to describe it, when it looked like that we were getting to a point between the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and the PGA Tour and LIV for there be ways for whether Bryson DeChambeau or Brooks Koepka or John Rahm to play an event or two on the PGA Tour. And what it meant in terms of players playing on LIV, I'm not really sure. But here we sit at the end of June of 2025, and you look at where LIV currently is. And I'm not here to T-bone LIV. I'm not here to sideswipe them. But the truth is that it hasn't gained traction. And I think that that's being fair. And that's not spewing hate. I'm not doing that. There has not been a growing level of interest in the product. And I think it's reasonable to draw that conclusion, considering they've never had a better way for people to find the product. Whereas at the beginning, it was primarily a digital product. And then they got a TV deal with the CW. And, people had to kind of look high and low to find that. It's not top of mind. And the CW is kind of growing modestly, a little sports division. They have some college football, they have some college basketball, but now they have a Fox deal. And they were on Big Fox and they were on FS1. And the truth is that the audience hasn't been there. And the PGA Tour simultaneously is seeing an uptick in their ratings. And whether it was by design, and I don't think it was entirely by design, the PGA Tour is winning when it comes to where people's interest is. And look, it was going to be challenging for LIV to begin with. So what does that mean? And what does it mean primarily for the guy who's the new boss of the PGA Tour? Because I've been thinking about that a lot since Brian Rolap was announced as the guy who's going to be taking over and is going to be the driving force of the PGA Tour as now a business that's going to change significantly over the next 5 years. They are open for business. They are a for-profit professional sports enterprise. Not that they weren't before, but they were built as a 501c6 charity. And it doesn't mean that charity is not still an important part of the PGA Tour, but they've got investment over $1 billion. And where does that investment go? So when you look at the buckets of where Brian Rollup is going to focus over the next couple of years, and I'm not here to tell him what he should be focusing on, but I don't think it's unreasonable for me to say that here are what I think his priorities probably are. Sponsorship is number one. Sponsorship has always been the driving force of the PGA Tour, and sponsorship has been asked to really, really foot the bill over the last couple of years. We're talking about sponsors, bellwether sponsors that have been asked, whether it's Travelers or AT&T or some of these other companies that you're looking at and you're going, RBC, okay, now you're a signature series event. You're going to get the best field. Well, we were already getting a really good field at the Heritage. Well, now you're going to probably be insured of getting an even better field the week after the Masters. But your business model is going to be altered. The only company, and I've said this before, that is made the decision to invest in the PGA Tour at a level that starts with the Signature Series model is Truist. That's the new one. And then you get to the TV model. But Brian Rolap has an opportunity here to create pathways back for players onto the PGA Tour. And that is going to be one of the interesting things, because here's the thing. LIV players, from what I understand, not all of them, and I haven't done some straw polling, and I've not canvassed all these guys, so I'm not suggesting that I have, but some of them absolutely want a way back, and that will be interesting. All right, we do it every Wednesday, not necessarily every Wednesday, but now going forward to the end of the year with all these events piling up, and we've got another major, we got the Scottish Open, obviously we have the playoff events. Club 5 on a Wednesday, we open the club, and we've got a new entry into the club. Now, it's not the guy who's going to be at number 5, but the guy who at the end of the year is going to win that window pane walnut jacket that you can have yourself, because on August 15th, that jacket from Peter Millar is available for you at petermillar.com. collegiate.com. The guy who wins Club 5 is going to get that jacket sent to him. The guy who's at number 1, I'm thinking he's probably a 46 long. We'll get to him in a moment. But let's start at number 5. He'd been hanging around the club a lot this year because he's having a career year. Russell Henley, another excellent performance in a Signature Series event. He won a Signature Series event at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He adds another great performance at the Travelers. He's got 8 top 10s as well. He's going to be on the U.S. Ryder Cup team. He's the 6th-ranked player in the world. At number 4, yes, with authority, he enters the club for the first time. Keegan Bradley, this is not a one-off. He's having a solid season. I think it's even more impressive considering he is the captain of the U.S. Ryder Cup team, that he's having a good year. Now he breaks through. He wins the Travelers for the second time. He's in the club for the first time. At number 3, J.J. Spawn, it was going to be a big lift for him at the Travelers off winning that U.S. Open, but he too is having a wonderful year, punctuated obviously by winning a major championship. Number 2, the Masters champion, Players champion, won a Signature Series event. And I think we may look back on the Travelers as the Rory reboot. We'll get thoughts from Brad Faxon on that in a couple of minutes, but he's at number 2. And at number 1, I think that Scottie Scheffler's year and kind of his mantra was kind of sewn up in terms of what happened on Saturday. Consider, he starts the day as the co-leader, makes triple on 1, makes another double and a bogey on the opening 9, goes out in 39. You're going, all right, 77, going to finish 30th. Came home in 2 under, shot bogey-free 65 on Sunday, finishes tied for 6. That's 9 straight top 10s. And oh, by the way, the PGA champion, a 3-time winner, he is number 1. It is going to be hard to get that jacket away from Scottie Scheffler. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we continue, Brad Faxon, kind enough to get up early, and early, meaning he's out here where I am in the state of Colorado. He's at the U.S. Senior Open. You will see that on Golf Channel, NBC, and Peacock over the next 4 days starting tomorrow. His thoughts on that championship, the future of that championship, and also the immediate future of Rory McIlroy and Keegan Bradley. A little bit later on, Nathan Smith, captain of the U.S. Walker Cup team. And we've got our picks for the week for the Travelers and dogs. We always end the week with God's creatures. So it's a Wednesday. Good to have you with us. It's 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and also Channel 92 on Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Facts next on 5 Clubs. Back in on this Wednesday, it is 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel. You can also listen. It's PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. U.S. Senior Open is this week, but I must mention Pinehurst. They've got a great championship going on this week, the North-South, one of the great amateur championships that you can play in. And, of course, there's always a good reason to be booking a trip to go to Pinehurst Resort, the cradle of American golf, right? Joining me now from NBC and Golf Channel's great golf team. He is out here in the state of Colorado. His view, he's like 12 miles away from me, a little bit better than mine. He is at the Broadmoor where the U.S. Senior Open is going to be held this week. I'm speaking, of course, Brad Faxon. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Gary. Good morning. Nice to be with you.
You played in the North-South. I have to believe that a kid who went to Furman played in the North-South at least once, didn't you?
Oh, I can't believe I'm going to say no when you said that. I knew you were going to ask me. I never played in the Northeast Amateur. There was some event back up there that was always against, back up in New England, that was always against the Northeast Amateur, and I never got to play, but I know how big the event is. I tell people all the time, if you're looking for a great place to go play golf, I don't know of a better place than Pinehurst, where you can stay in a number of different places, play great golf. And it's getting better and better. I was fortunate enough to play number 10 last year, right before the U.S. Open. It's awesome.
No, it is. And Brad, I'll tell you, I walked the land where Ben and Bill are going to build number 11 right next to 10. It's special. All right, let's get to where you are because it's special. The Broadmoor, the announcement yesterday from the USGA, the Broadmoor is going to be a big part of this championship that you're covering in the years going forward. because they announced the extension of future sites, and the Broadmoor is going to be a big part of it. Give people a thought about this golf course, which is kind of a blending of Ross and Robert Trent Jones Sr. I know you just got out there last night, but give people an idea what they're going to see starting tomorrow.
Well, it's a fantastic place. 100 plus years old, Donald Ross, incredible what he could do back in those days and how many golf courses he designed. Like you said, Trent Jones and even Ron Force, who's a Philadelphia golf course architect, has done some work here. I know the players have all said the course is extremely difficult. It's in beautiful shape. And I think these players, what they're going to see, the most difficult for them will be the greens. Donald Ross, and then with the renovation from Trent Jones, and mountain golf, so the ball goes a little bit farther, but finding where the low spots are to read these greens, it's confounding to the players. I don't think the players are going to love some of the putts they end up having coming back for their pars. And I was on the Fox team, Gary, when Fox Sports was doing the USGA events, and David Toms won here when we were doing one of our first broadcasts, and it was an exciting finish and just a beautiful place to do golf. I'm proud that the USGA is selecting this as a home for the U.S. Senior Open.
Brad, you look at the road. I was talking about the Walker Cup, and I want to get a thought from you on that because Nathan Smith's going to join me after you, who's captaining the U.S. team this year at Cypress Point. We talk so much about what you need to have a major championship, and it's not only yardage, it's footprint, it's infrastructure, and some of these great 100-year-old golf courses now are, I think, Brad, it's the perfect lane for championships like the U.S. Senior Open. I know you've spent some time at Charlotte Country Club. That was announced 2033. Give me a thought about this championship in the immediate future and where it's going.
Well, the senior tour started maybe 40 years ago now, and this is the most meaningful of all the championships that these players will play. There's 5 majors on the Champions Tour. Angel Cabrera's won 2 of them. We just saw Jimenez win last week. So the players are all amped up this week. They got here early. They played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, trying to get used to, they'll play today, obviously, the practice round, trying to get used to how far the ball is going. This rough is very thick and consistent. The green speeds. I think it's the biggest event I played on the Champions Tour, one of the hardest events, and some of the best courses. And the USGA has always done a very, very good job at finding the best venues, the U.S. Open or the Walker Cup, like you mentioned. And I would like to say that Nathan Smith did a talk at the Links Club, which is a kind of a private dinner club in New York City. And the members there that were there for that said it was outstanding how good he did.
Wow, that's great to hear. Again, how special a career he's had, a 5-time USGA champion. Brad, you mentioned how big it is. Started in 1980. Palmer wins it in 81. I was at Ridgewood Country Club where I grew up in 1990. That was the year that Jack and Lee both turned 50. It was a big, big deal. Yes. And I mention that because next year, Scioto, Tiger will be 50. Does your intuition tell you if he's healthy? He absolutely gives it a go at a place where Jack grew up. And think about it, Brad. Think about the audience if he contends to win his 10th USGA championship. Give me a thought about that.
I had one of the great TV moments of my personal life when we did the U.S. Senior Open at Scioto, and Jack came into our tower. It was with Joe Buck and Paul Azinger, and Jack called me Fax on air, and I just thought that was the coolest thing because he was the guy that I watched playing as a little kid. And I go, I can't believe you call me Fax. He goes, what do you want me to call you? And I go, Fax. And, the history of Scioto and Jack growing up there with Jack Grout, his teacher that explained to him what the fundamentals of golf should be. I think that was teacher-player relationships of all time, and to be able to go back there, and I have a good friend that's playing there today, and he is so excited. He knows how hard that course is, and it was a great venue. Columbus is a great golf city with so many great courses around there. Obviously, Jack's Muirfield Village. host the Memorial Tournament every year. This is going to be a good run for the seniors that are playing out here.
No question. I want to ask you about Ernie Els because, you wonder because these guys at this particular generation of player and the amount of wealth and money that they played for,
Right.
Tiger drove the huge spike at the turn of the century, and I wondered like where will the motivation be for the likes of the Ernie Elses and the Jim Furyk's and Steve Stricker? And you know what? To their great credit, they've dug in and they grind and they work and they play. Ernie Els and Phil. Phil's obviously over on Live. You saw them both, and Phil's career is glossier. It's more decorated. It's more majors. It's more obviously PGA Tour wins. Ernie was global, but at the height of their powers, how close was it? I think it was very close in your mind, wasn't it, between Ernie and Phil?
Yeah, that's a great point, Gary. I Ernie came over from South Africa, big guy, hit it a long way, was intimidating to play with just because the way he played and couldn't have been a nicer guy. Phil reminded me a little bit of a Tom Watson, a guy that didn't necessarily bore you to death by how straight he hit it. You couldn't predict what Phil was going to do, but he found a way to get the ball in the hole quicker than most guys. And, you asked me in the last question, and my wife always kids me because I forget to answer questions sometimes. You asked about Tiger, will he play at Jack's event? And the motivation these guys have. I think, I look at Tiger now and his son Charlie, who's turned into a very, very near player. And I could see Tiger extending the length that he plays because of Charlie, like Marco Mira had his career extended because of Tiger, right? And I mean, having him come out to play a U.S. Senior Open would be incredible for the game of golf, not just for the senior tour. But the guys that like Langer that have played for a long time, like Ernie Els, like Phil Mickelson, they have something inside them that they just want to compete. It's not about really winning trophies or winning a certain amount of money. They just want to play and compete all the time. And the players of today that are making all that money, like you mentioned, the guys that just love competing are going to be the guys that'll keep playing the game forever, the game they love.
Let me ask you one thought about Rory, being as that you work with him. And I think maybe we're going to look back on the Travelers as being the reboot. That I described him winning the Masters as going to his summit without an oxygen tank, and we went along with him, and we were disoriented, and it was exhausting and exhilarating, and it took some time. Do you think that last week maybe is an indicator that his orientation is back and that the balance of this year, being over in Europe, Scottish, the Open Championship, Portrush, Ryder Cup, that his narrow focus might be coming back again?
I believe it is. And, Rory said it after he won the Masters that he had dreamed of winning the Masters, dreamed of winning the career Grand Slam. And it took him a little bit longer than most people thought, or that maybe he thought, culminating at Augusta National this year. It was since 2014 he had won his last major. That's all anybody ever talked about every single April. And I think what Rory didn't get was any time to himself, any time to breathe. He took a quick flight after the Masters to England to see his home that he and Eric are. He played Zurich Classic with Shane, and before you know it, he was up in Philadelphia playing at the cricket club, and then it was the PGA, and he had really no time to say, look, I didn't dream of what I was going to do after that. And at Oakmont, he had the best round of the day on Sunday. He came back and talked to the press, and I think he's back to being Rory again. And he played pretty well at the Travelers in some tough conditions there that everybody saw. And I think he's leaving today to head over to London to his house there. He's going to spend a few weeks before getting ready for the Open Championship at Portrush, which he desperately wants to contend in. He said the Friday round there, after he had shot 80 in the first round, was the most meaningful round of his life. He missed the cut by one shot, and he, his closest friend Shane Lowry took away the claret jug there, and I think Rory would love another taste of that.
All right, we're going to do a just five with Fax, and he's the one guy I know I can make it all about just golf. I don't have to ask him about, favorite rom-com. So just five to get him out the door on this Wednesday. The number one on your list, nobody enjoys his journey in golf, seeing new places, going to places that he loves again. What is number one on your list right now that you've never been to?
I think I ought to say Bandon Dunes. I have never been out there. I know I could knock 3 or 4 of them off my bucket list, and that would be number one.
Wow. The fact that you haven't been to Bandon. Yeah, you will be enthralled by it all. All right. What's your favorite walk in golf?
Can I say Pine Valley?
Yes,
I think I'm a member there. That's my favorite place. If you make fun of me for that, I don't care.
I'm not. Are you kidding me? It is an enchanted forest. There's no place like it in the world. All right, the best 18 greens you think in the world?
Oh, I've said this on the air before, and it's appropriate this week at the Broadmoor. It's a Donald Ross course, but I grew up in Rhode Island, and probably there's 2 very famous courses there. Newport Country Club, one of the first 5 founding clubs, and then Wannamoisett, which is a Donald Ross designed par 69 on 89 acres. They just finished the Northeast Diameter there 2 weeks ago. I've said on there, I think that's the best set of Donald Ross greens I've ever seen. I think it's outstanding.
Okay, I will tell you, I think Chicago Golf Club for me. It's like 18 works of art, Brad.
I know. You can say national as well.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, your favorite routing in golf. What's your favorite routing?
I would tell you, there's an unbelievably great golf course in Chatham, Massachusetts called Eastward Ho. I've been a member there for a long time. Kyle Franz, who's done a lot of work down in the Pinehurst area, just did an unbelievable restoration there. And I asked him when I was there, I said, do you ever play with, if you saw this piece of property before Herbert Fowler, the architect, did, would you have done it the same way? Fowler called it the greatest property he's ever seen for golf. If you ever get a chance, you've got to see this place. I think it's one of the best routings I've ever seen.
That's great. I've never been there. That's very close to the top of my list. And what Kyle, as you mentioned, I've seen some aerial shots of the land. It looks rollicking. It looks dramatic. No, that's a good one. All right, last one. This is going to be hard. Favorite city for golf?
City. So, you could say the Hamptons.
Okay.
And you mentioned Chicago Golf Club. I would put Chicago and Philadelphia and just the New York City area. They're all so fantastic for golf. I like the older ones. I like Seaside. I grew up in a great area in Rhode Island with the Rhode Island Country Club. But I would say it would be very hard to beat all the great courses in the New York area. That would be, you could get lost playing great golf there.
No, you're right. The depth chart, it's hard to compete.
Yep.
Depth from Westchester County out to the east end of Long Island. Listen, thank you. It's good to see your face. Good to have a chat. You will certainly hear and see a lot of Brad over the next 4 days. Plus, he's on SiriusXM every Fridays with Taylor Zarzour, Just the Facts, at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you.
Great. Have a great week out here. It's a beautiful spot, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. There is Brad Faxon, NBC Golf Team. We take a break. When we continue, the captain of the U.S. Walker Cup team, Nathan Smith, the challenges of trying to identify a team. What's the most important thing beyond the best players in terms of building it, and the experiences gained, and how much has amateur golf changed with NIL? He joins me next on 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel and on SiriusXM's Channel 92. That is PGA Tour Radio. Back after this. Back in on 5 Clubs on this Wednesday. I'm out in Colorado Springs. We'll be back in the studio on Monday. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. Proudly, I've worn only Peter Millar, the leader when it comes to anything you need. And it's not just about golf, it's a lifestyle brand. They have refined performance, luxury, and style better than anybody for more than 2 decades. All right, joining me now is somebody who's had one of the great careers in amateur golf, not just recently, all time, a 5-time USGA champion, and he is the U.S. Walker Cup captain. He will proudly lead his team at Cypress Point at the beginning of September. I'm speaking, of course, of Nathan Smith. My friend, good morning. It's good to see your face. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love the show, and thank you for having me on. We'll try to watch it every morning.
Thank you for joining me. Well, you're awfully kind, and I'm excited for you. It was good to see you briefly over the summer at Pinehurst for the USGA annual meeting. You know, this appointment I know is very humbling for you, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm just curious, as we get close, what have you learned about this generation of player, now you being removed a little bit over a decade from playing alongside these guys, many of whom have gone on and had great professional careers? What have you learned about this younger generation?
Well, I think there are a lot of similarities and there are a lot of differences. I think you just have to adapt. It's almost like that movie Moneyball. With everything going on right now, you have to adapt with the times. You know, it's NIL, it's PGA Tour U. I think guys, it's still there. They're all amazing. They're talented. They work hard. They all want to win. There's a lot of similarities there. But I would say, I think now what's amazing, back when I did it or made the teams, you kind of had it narrowed down to who the 10 or 20 guys in the mix would be. Now, it's truly amazing how many great players there are. I mean, for me, there's such a big net over all these players across the country. And even I would say the college guys are off the charts when you watch them play, how far they hit it, how developed their games are. But even the juniors coming up, there's a lot of guys that are even still in high school that are amazing, so developed at such a young age. I don't think I've ever seen a better crop of juniors up and coming right now.
Give me a thought about these young men that we know are going to be on the team. The USGA announced Ben James, sure, Michael LaSasso, Jackson Koivin. Give me a thought on those 3 guys who, again, what they've already accomplished at such a young age is so impressive. Thought about 3 guys you know you're taking to Cypress Point.
My thought is, thank goodness they're all on the team. They're incredible. Yeah, thank goodness, you know. But, you know, it's amazing. Jackson Koivin at Auburn already, you know, got his tour card through PGA Tour University, #1 ranked player in the world. Ben James, incredible player from Virginia. He was on the last Walker Cup at St. Andrews. And then Michael LaSasso at Ole Miss, who just won the national championships, played incredible out at La Costa. So those 3 guys are a great start to a team, and they're all incredible young men. And you know, when I called them along with you know, from Paul, they were blown away. They can't wait to play on the Walker Cup, and they're excited. And the fact it's at Cypress Point makes it all the better.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things you have to do in conjunction with the USGA is try to, you know, thread a needle and get together with some of, you know, these potential team members. And when you do that, I'm curious, what are you trying to identify beyond maybe compatibility and pairings? What are you as the captain looking for when you're around these young men?
Well, there's a lot. I think as a captain, you put into it is whatever you make of it. You can put in as much time or whatever you want. For me, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'm going to put in everything I can. I'm going to try to go to all the tournaments and be there. I think I just want to try to get to know them. I know they're all incredible players. You know, I want to be there. I want to talk to their families. I want to talk to their coaches. I want to watch them play. I want to see who they gravitate towards, you know, because half of the portion of the Walker Cup is alternate shots Saturday and Sunday morning. So I want to see, maybe you start to think of that in the back of your head, who they might want to play with and who they feel comfortable with. So you just want to be out there on the scene and start to get to know them. And they're all incredible players. And honestly, meeting them all, they're all, you know, just incredible guys.
I was saying earlier, I think the Walker Cup and the Curtis Cup is the greatest rota in golf. You get to captain a team at Cypress Point. For a lot of people who love golf, Nathan, and you know this, Cypress Point, it's mythical, it's mystical. There was a book written about an impromptu match that was played there in 1956. Hogan and Nelson against a couple of amateurs and Harvey Ward and Ken Venturi. Give people an understanding of what they're going to see and what you're going to get to experience as the captain at that place.
Well, I think of all the Walker Cups, I would say win, lose, or draw. I think it'll be the greatest Walker Cup. I think Cypress Point is the most beautiful, greatest golf course club in the world. And I think down the stretch, everybody talks about 16, the greatest par 3 in the world it is, but 15's incredible. 17's right by the ocean, the par 4. And I think the course itself, Cypress, is just made for a Walker Cup. I think there's so many risk reward holes. I think it's made for match play, and I think it's going to be exciting. I think there are going to be a lot of birdies. I think there are going to be a lot of others. West Coast time on the ocean, what they can do with TV, high def, drones. I think it's just going to be incredible. I think people are going to be blown away that are watching and that are out there.
Nathan, I'm with you. I think about it, like you said, built for match play. When you think about the power and the ability of these kids to go on runs and to have a partner, with the exception of, obviously your single session, I think about 5 and 6 back to back, and then 8 and 9 back to back, and choices being made and cutting corners and taking chances. Give people an idea, like you mentioned about risk reward, like the number of holes that lend itself to the provocative nature of match play. That place is the embodiment of it, isn't it?
Well, you're spot on, especially through 5 through 9 there. And I think what's exciting, you could have a team, could be possible at alternate shot or in singles. If you get a couple down, maybe on 8, you do want to take a run at the green, and 9's very drivable. But if you miss, you could make an X on the hole. So I just think it's going to be so exciting, and just how they set it up, it's going to be immaculate. The weather's perfect at the ocean, but there's so many holes in a row that are so exciting, even before you get to probably the greatest stretch in golf, 15 through 17, at Cypress Point.
As somebody who was a career amateur, and we lost somebody who I know meant a ton to you in Jay Siegel, that agent level with NIL. Amateur, by definition, is different in every way. How about amateur golf? How much do you think the amount of money that kids can make at a young age is going to impact amateur golf?
Well, I just want to say Jay Siegel was incredible. He became a great friend through the years with golf, the Walker Cup. He had a state match play in Pennsylvania that I kept playing every year. I start to get him
and
get
won.
to know him better. Yeah, so I think that he became such a friend and a mentor, and he's special. So he was pretty much one of the best amateurs, if not the best amateur at golf. So he was a great friend, but. It's evolved, I would say, and you mentioned with NIL and different things. I mean, you could always be glass half full, glass half empty. I would say there's a lot of guys, the majority of guys, though, if they're getting a little money through the summer, a lot of that through certain sponsorships, whatever they would be, club manufacturers or really anything. A lot of them are spending that money to play summer events anymore. If you go to even one event, it's so expensive. So there's a lot of that, and then it's you see it in all sports now. You see it in college football and everything. It's wild. So guys are really trying to get what they can and do it, but it's still there. Amateur golf's still there, and there's a great mid-am contingency out there that still plays a ton of golf, and hopefully be a part of this Walker Cup.
Yeah, I think it's half full. I really do. I think that, with PGA Tour U, and they can be patient. They don't necessarily need to start the meter right away. There's real money to be made. So I think that great events like the one you're going to captain are not going to be negatively affected by defections to professional golf. I'd like to believe that. Last thing, as somebody who played on 3 Walker Cup teams, 9, 11, and 13, who was the guy, and don't just give me speed and power, who was the guy that when you look back on it, you go, my gosh, that guy had the goods? Who was somebody, and I'm sure he's gone on and done great things in professional golf, who really got to you when you saw them and were around them on one of those three teams?
Well, I think there were probably they're all incredible guys. And the one thing that's cool about the Walker Cup is you get together usually as a tensum and you go out and play. Because sometimes, back in the day, we'd played alternate shot with our partner. We just go out, so you kind of have 5 balls in play, and you would have 10 guys. So you get to see everybody. I would say the '09 team at Marion, I think Ricky Fowler stuck out. Just makes every putt like a video game. Laser irons, just everything, almost like a video game. Didn't make sense. It was kind of even spooky to watch him hit shots. 2011, I think Spieth stuck out. At that time, I think he was just going into his freshman year at Texas. We were over at Aberdeen. And you could see there was something special about him. If there was ever a clutch 10-footer that had to be made, he just made it. And he made a putt late in a Saturday. He was playing with Patrick Rogers, and it gave us a chance to win Sunday. And he kind of had no business making that putt. The wind was everywhere and everything, but he just, you had no idea he'd go on to do what he did. And then in 2013, Justin Thomas up at National Golf Links stuck out. He would hit it by us. He would sneak it out there past us. So those three guys stuck out. You could see what went on to go on tour. Now I'll probably get a text from different guys on the team saying I didn't mention them, so you kind of got me in trouble.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you will. Hey, listen, it's good to see your face. It's good to catch up. Excited for you. I know how proud and humbled you are by the appointment. One of the great events, not just in golf and sports, the Walker Cup, Cypress Point, beginning of September. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I hope I see you out there. So love the show and always good seeing you.
Thank you. That is Nathan Smith, one of the great amateurs, 5-time USGA champion. That brought to you by Century Insurance. Winning Words. They are business experts when it comes to building relationships that can help and support your business. It is Century, right by you, and Winning Words. All right, when we continue, our picks for the Rocket Mortgage, we always end the week with God's Creatures, dogs. Coming up next, 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and on SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92. We're back right after this. Back in on 5 Clubs, and this segment brought to you by Golf Pride. It is the most trusted grip company in the world by players at every single level. And as you can see, it is time for Dogs of the Week. We got a full stable. Send them in. If you got a dog that has a relationship with the game of golf, we want it. We want to see it because we will certainly honor and celebrate your dog. It's dogs@5clubsgolf.com. Let's get to them. Our first dog, how regal an animal is that? That is Copper, 9-year-old silver lab. The owner is Will White, the superintendent at Geneva Golf Club in Geneva, Illinois. That is a sturdy animal right there. That is Dakota. Jay Craig, the owner, the head pro at Crystal Woods Golf Club in Woodstock, Illinois, a 2-year-old miniature Australian Shepherd, loves to roam the fairways. That is the embodiment of a golden retriever. That on the 16th green at Cypress Creek Golfers Club in Smithfield, Virginia, that is Sophie Glenn Payne, the owner. That is a Cocker Spaniel. You better believe it is. That's at the Isle of Arran in Scotland. Ewan McKinnon, the greenskeeper at Corey Golf Club, that is Luna right there. And finally, that is Ripley. That is Rodri Thomas's 5-year-old lab. He's done rounds at Sunningdale, Royal St. George's, Swinley Forest. You think Ripley doesn't love it? And Rodri described Ripley as greedy, lazy, handsome, and loving. I want to be all those things, except the greedy part. But I actually do want to be greedy about being right occasionally. And that is how we transition from the dogs to our picks of the week. But let's get to our standings first. A little update, a little shifting of the order in terms of where everybody is. I've nudged ahead of Gil Hance. I'm now in 4th, which is pretty pedestrian. Taylor Zarza remains out in front. Johnson Wagner close behind. Then it is Emma, myself, Gil, Jay. Brendan DeYoung is putting together one of the most atrocious seasons of picking I've ever seen. All right, with that, let's take a look at who we like at the Rocket Mortgage at Detroit Golf Club. I'm going with Luke Clanton. Gil is picking the guy who's won there twice. Harry Hall for Emma. Colin Morikawa for Taylor. Patrick Cantlay for Brendan. That means he'll probably have a bad week. Cameron Young for Jay. And Akshay Bhatia. Johnson would pick him every single week if he could. That's his guy. So those are our picks for the Rocket Mortgage at Detroit Golf Club. And, of course, Tyler Ray and his team come Sunday. They are going to be tearing that place up. I leave Colorado Springs, and I'm going to golf's new holy land, and I will have a full report for you on Monday because I'm going to Mullen, Valentine, and Homer. And you're going, who are those three people? Those are towns in Nebraska. That is where I'm headed, and I will have a full report on one of the great spots in the world to play golf. Have a great rest of the week. For all of us at Five Clubs, we'll see you Monday.